Hello everyone, my name is Andy Barthel, Director of Operations here at Impact Realty, and today I am lucky enough to be joined by two wonderful professionals as we dive in and get ready to talk about AI and how you as realtors can take advantage of it. Gentlemen, please, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Dylan Miller on the newly formed Sandstone team here at Impact Realty. I've been an agent for a little bit over 3 years now, and I'm just always looking to stay up to date with the newest technologies because we know how fast those things are changing. So I'm super excited to be here today with you guys talking about AI. It's going to be a great conversation.
I guess. Thank you, sir.
All right, my name is Justin King. I've been an agent here for a little over a year now. Prior to that, I was in military and law enforcement working intelligence operations and data. Used AI in that background a little bit, and I use it quite a bit in my business now. And like Dylan said, I'm also excited to be here.
Heck yeah. Thank you, gentlemen. Now, when it comes to AI, there's a lot going on right now. Obviously, it's the big buzzword. Everyone's freaking out about it. And when it comes to what we're going to talk about, we're not here to talk about the future and what AI is going to become. None of us are per se coding experts who are making the AI ourselves necessarily, but what we are professionals who use this product every day just about, or in some form for our marketing or whatnot. And that's really what we want to talk about today, is really just cut through everything and talk about how realtors and business people can use it reliably today and avoid certain pitfalls. Because I'm sure we all know there are plenty of ways that one can go wrong when using AI. The first thing we're going to talk about is dispelling the illusions around AI. Because there is a lot of different people with a lot of different theories about AI, what the future is going to look like, and we're here to talk about what we know, what we practically can use today. And the best way to start there is what to avoid, really. And the one thing that I want to start talking about, that we all really want to start talking about, is when it comes to avoiding the pitfalls of AIs, is really you need to identify how you're going to use it. And in my opinion, I'd like to hear what you guys think, it's best used as a scribe. People are using it as an information hub. People are talking to ChatGPT, like asking it questions. I've heard a story of there was a lawyer who's in big trouble because they literally asked ChatGPT, an AI, to write them a brief, and it just sourced information out of nowhere. It created briefs in cases that didn't exist. And that's one of the first major pitfalls, is you want to avoid asking this questions for it to give you answer.
Well, what you were just saying, Andy, is that's the main thing. You can't over-rely on this technology yet. Yeah, maybe in the future, like we said before, but it's just not there yet. If it was there where it could just take over everybody's jobs, then we all just wouldn't be here. So that's the biggest thing, is do not over-rely on it, but also don't overlook it and not implement it at all. So it's kind of finding that sweet spot of what can it do and how can I implement it into my business.
Exactly.
Completely agree. There are limitations, and you have to understand what the limitations are. There are certain date ranges that AI is good for. There are certain models that AI is fantastic with. But at the end of the day, the AI is only as good as it's trained. And the more you see different generative AI platforms coming out, the more they're learning from each other, and the more they're just producing garbage and recycling the same garbage that's being produced by the other AI platforms.
AI learning off of AI, and then It dilutes the learning pool. So when it comes to dates, one of the first things I remember you brought up is that most AIs, at least the reliable ones, OpenAI, for example, ChatGPT, their data banks cut off at around
September of 2021.
There you go. And the reason they do that, again, is to keep it clean, which that itself is reason to not ask them questions. But another reason is the foundation of how these things are designed. They are, and keep in mind, AI itself is nothing new. We've all used AI. I believe, Dylan, you were mentioning something about a mapping tool that realtors can use that maps AI.
Yeah, it's great. So I know as realtors, we don't want to show 13 houses in a day, but I've shown 13 houses in a day. All I have to do is just plug each and every one of those addresses in, and it'll spit out, this is your best route, your fastest route, and easiest way to show the houses in that day. So it makes it super easy for me. Instead of just trying to keep switching the addresses around, it cuts my 30 minutes into like a 5-minute thing.
Yeah, you input the addresses and an AI calculates the best, fastest route for you. Google Maps. AI itself is nothing new. What's new is the generative chatbot, and that's also what everyone's misunderstanding, pardon me, where all it works as is off of its database is it forms sentences. You give it a prompt, it creates a sentence based off its data. That's why if you ask it for a recipe, it might recommend you bleach, because it's not thinking what is food, what is edible, what's tasty. There's no data banks that give it those parameters that you would be using in a purpose-built program for it. These chat AI is just that. They create sentences. And so a chatbot that is not heavily trained potentially not just potentially, will lie. Studies show, at least historically, and this may be updated or get better as you train it, but certain AI models are known to lie up to 40% of the time. And unless you're heavily training it, that's not a reliable thing. So really the first most usable way, now that we're talking about how not to rely on it, let's talk about good ways to rely on it. And the best way to start talking about how we can rely on it is through scribe work. Now, gentlemen, I know both of you are pretty much using this AI as your own personal scribe. What would be one way that you describe or actually recommend people use this?
Using it to write copy is fantastic. It's a nice starting point, but it's definitely not an end point. I use it to write some of my marketing copy, some of my listing copy, and then I go through and filter it for not only content, but also voice. Because I want it to actually have the personal voice that comes with it, as well as ensuring that the content is correct and that it's saying what I want it to say. I've also know several people who are involved in the rental space, both short-term and long-term, who used to employ people who specifically wrote copy. And they have been able to kind of move away from that, use something like a ChatGPT or an OpenAI platform to write that base copy. But then again, it's not the be all end all. You have to go back through and you have to proofread that and make sure it's saying what you want to say and using the voice that you want to use.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and going off of what you said earlier, these things are only updated up until 2021. One thing that's really cool about the OpenAI ChatGPT is you can take data from today, input it into that system and say, write me a newsletter with this data. So even though you only have up until 2021, it will take the data that you put into it and it can write you an entire 2-3 page newsletter just based off of the data and statistics, the things that would have taken me and you 5 hours to write before.
Exactly. Yes, and on that note, inputting data, that's probably what I recommend more than anything, is only rely on the data you give it. And in terms of using it for your copy, the way I like to use it is, for example, I help agents write their bio or a newsletter or something like that. Just like Dylan was saying, give it the information you want it to say. Bio will be the easiest example. I'm going to write in my information about myself and say, write me a bio that includes X, Y, and Z. Or if it's marketing materials, write me an email that says X, Y, and Z and refers to this. Tell it what you want it to say, and probably tell it to, I like going, write me 3 versions, and then you can pick and choose the best, because that's the last part you said that I'd like to refocus on is double checking it.
Right, and also having it write in different voices, because it'll write in different voices or different attitudes based on what prompt you give it. But to your point, that's also what you see with a lot of private companies, and even some non-private companies will have their own model or their own version of GPT that they are training and they've been training. And that's kind of what makes their version a little bit better, because they're putting current data into it and continuing to train that model.
And before we get off the topic of the scribe work, yeah, it's a great tool. You want to put your personal touches on it, but if you were to say have that ChatGPT write you up something that you plan on posting on one of these social medias or something, there's been numerous data points showing that the algorithm doesn't like that. Doesn't like what the AI just spits out, and it can detect that. So you always want to have your personal touch on whatever you put out there into the world.
People notice it too.
Yeah,
not everyone, but there are people who are noticing it, and it can be off-putting for sure. Especially with a lot of marketing, the whole you're either generally sending out automated emails, if we're talking automated marketing, either in your voice or as a human assistant. And the moment you dispel that illusion, you're breaking trust right off the bat. So. Definitely something to keep in mind. And actually, Justin, you brought up something perfect. Other people, other programs, other companies developing their own AI chatbot. And the way a lot of these people are starting to do, a lot of these companies, they're using, such as Lofty, I'll use, for example. It's the new CRM that we actually just switched to for our agents. It's a CRM that does all the usual stuff, creates website and all that stuff, but they partnered with OpenAI, ChatGPT, and they've created and heavily trained, just like we were talking about, heavily trained a real estate chatbot that goes on your website. Have you gentlemen played around with it too much? I know, Justin, you were just talking about it.
Yeah, so it's got a lot of interesting features to where not only can it act as a chatbot on the website, but it can also use kind of a learning algorithm that will look at the searches that someone's conducting through the website and through the property alerts that are set up, and it'll adjust their property searches based on their activity. And it can kind of use that model to adjust and shape what they're looking for, and then ping them through the chatbot and kind of further refine that to see what exactly it is they're looking for, their criteria, their timeline, and even their budget.
And obviously that requires an integrated website with the MLS IDX feed, but hopefully that's getting provided for you as well.
So Justin, I haven't used the Lofty AI chatbot yet. I usually just set my clients up on, search alerts. They want a 4-bed, 2-bath with a pool in this radius. How does the AI version where they send listing alerts and does it adapt? What does that do any differently?
Right. So the property alerts are something that are manually set up. From there, the AI platform within Lofty, through both learning algorithms and the AI, will take and refine that based on their search criteria that you've provided or that they provided you, and then their activity. We'll refine that search pattern, and then the AI, the chatbot, can jump in and have a conversation with them as they're looking at properties to confirm and refine their criteria, what they're looking for, what their timeline is, what their budget is, and help narrow that down and help them find the property that they're looking for.
Heck yeah. So it sounds like one is static, the other is constantly refined. And then I know as well, the other big advantage of that exact same system is that it can further, for example, in Lofty, if it's got long-term campaigns, there's several highly specialized long-term campaigns that, for example, this is a buyer lead who's working with an agent. This is a buyer lead who wants to sell, or I'm sorry, pardon me, a buyer lead who wants to buy within 12 months or buy outside of 12 months, within 3 months. The AI is finding out those specific information, updating it in their profile for the agent to see, and then refining what long-term campaign it's connected to too. Because there's normally, at least the way we do it, there's your overall saturation, general marketing, that's constant drip, but the AI can expedite the process of getting this refined information and then get them into further refined campaigns as well, and really increase your return on it.
Yeah, that's what I've seen with it, and it has kind of the ability to learn from that and to recommend campaigns to you based on specific triggers that are done by the client. And it can either, I believe it can be changed and set to where it automatically chooses a campaign to apply, or it can actually ask you, given action A, B, and C, Lofty recommends you apply campaign D, and you can automatically apply that to the lead.
That's awesome. Now, another big factor of AI, or just real estate obviously, is when it comes to lead generation, not just you using it, but there's the option to buy leads. And I'm sure we've all come in contact at this point with people trying to sell us leads where they're using AI one way or another. Now, Dylan, for example, what would you say your opinion is if someone wanted to sell you leads based on AI? What's your opinion?
Well, me personally, if they're using AI, to me, they're setting the AI system up and it's just generating leads. They're not really putting any hands-on human work onto it. I think those leads are probably worth less than an actual person getting on the phone with the lead, warming them up, and then passing them along to me. So right now, give me all the leads you can give me. But as far as a value, I'd rather another person talk to them, warm them up, and then send them over to me.
Yeah. Justin, what do you think?
I've definitely noticed an increase in lead companies reaching out to me offering leads specifically based on AI platforms. And I'm sure a lot of these companies have stood up over the last year or so, have capitalized on this AI model, and are all basically using the same AI to try and market the same leads at whatever cost they want to give. But it comes down to what we've talked about so many times. It's based on how well the model's trained and how well it's being used. I do have a couple companies that have reached out where they've got a model, they've got leads being generated by AI, who are then reached out to and contacted by an ISA and then passed as a warm lead. In that situation, I don't think it's a bad prospect, and I think that's probably a lead worth paying for. But a lead that just comes from AI that someone's trying to charge a premium for and advertise, oh, this is an AI generated lead, it's going to be so much better, I think that's probably garbage.
And I'm in the same boat with you, gentlemen, to a degree. I will say with a small caveat. For me, it's a non-factor. I don't care if you're using AI or not. It doesn't make it better. It can make it worse, sure, but so can other ways of doing it. But me, it always comes down to the same question with lead generation: is how qualified are they? How did you qualify them? Did someone or something speak to them? Because if it's a good AI and it maintains the illusion it's a real person and it speaks with them, that's fine. But to me, a qualified lead is you got their information and someone spoke to them in some capacity, ideally verbally, meaning human most of the time. But even if it's just messages, as long as that person responds, agrees to be contacted, there needs to be some extra 2 to 3 layer qualification that if you're using AI to increase overall productivity, sure, let me see what the conversations look like. Make sure it's good enough. If not, when I hear people brag about AI, I know an agent in particular asked us about it and said they're charging more. That, I think we all agree, that's dumb. That means nothing. No, it comes down to the quality of the lead.
If anything, it's making it easier on the company selling the leads.
Yeah, right? I mean, good for them for increasing the return, but at the end of the day, let me see how good the leads are, and then we'll discuss if it's worth that price, that premium. And AI in itself doesn't lend itself to anything special. It's just if you're good at it, you're good to go there. Thank you, gentlemen, both of you guys, for coming in. Really appreciate your expertise, your participation. I think that we got a lot of great information out there today. Why don't you guys let us know what you think down below? Because again, we're not coding experts. We're not making the AI as yourself. We are just professionals, realtors just like you, and we're just trying to find the best way to survive in this world, the best way to take advantage of the tools that are out there. So let us know with comments down below what you think. If you have any advice, agree, disagree, and we'll see you guys soon. Keep an eye on the channel for the next video. Thank you so much. Bye.